So,
Should I?
Andre, we're in. Thank you for joining me on the...
Thank you for having me.
That's okay. Thank you for joining me on the BTS Creative Academy podcast. Thank you so much for coming in this morning to share what you've been up to since we last met at the Romford Film Festival. It looks like you've been very, very busy from the looks of things on IMDb. You've got lots of productions in the works. But before we get into that, I've got a little thank you to say to the place that we're at today. We're at the Mega Roo Hotel opposite King's Cross Station, and they're very kindly hosting us today.
It's a fantastic place, I have to say.
There's something very unique about this space, isn't there?
That's true.
It's not a normal hotel, is it? It's something magical about the design.
So beautiful to be here.
Mm-hmm.
Just beautiful.
So we'll jump straight in. I've got a little tradition that we do when I jump straight into these conversations. We just do a 3, 2, 1, and then we clap, and then we begin. So would you like to join me?
I will.
3, 2, 1. Sweet.
Fantastic.
And we're in. So, Andre, how have you been?
Very well, very well. It's been quite a hectic month, and as you said, after the last time we met was at Romford Film Festival, which was in June, if I'm right. And like the last few months have been like quite hectic. It's been like project after project, and I'm quite happy about it. Mm-hmm. Tired, but quite happy.
So you're a director. So the film that I saw of yours last was The Interpreter, short film. You've done a few short films, but now all of a sudden you're full-on directing full feature films.
Exactly. So when we did The Interpreter last year, I think it was last May, then I had my first feature film last August, which is now on Amazon Prime, Apple TV, and Tubi. And like since January, I've done like 7 feature films. And when we had the chat at Romford, 3 of them, they were in post-production, and now they become more and more, so absolutely. I also have another short film, but it's just because the story was beautiful, so yes. So
I've been looking at your details on IMDb, and there's 7 films in production at the moment that you're working on. Are you directing all of those of those films?
Yes.
Wow.
So 4 are completing post-production while we're talking, and another 3 are in post-production, and another 2 are in pre-production. Mm-hmm.
Well, let's talk first of all about the big one that you've got coming out, Piglet's Return.
Yeah.
And there's not for children, is it?
No, definitely not for children. Or I mean, not the one the children knows. That's been a fantastic experience. When I received the script, I was like, wow, okay. And one thing is that like Piglet's Return will be like a very unique film. It's a sort of reminder old slasher or B-movie that we used to watch like in the 90s. It gives lots of this vibe, it's fun, it's entertaining, there's lots of blood, there's gore, but even the experience that we had on set while filming Piglet was fantastic. We had so much fun, all cast and crew. And one thing that, because I used to watch these kind of films, and one thing that I always thought is that I always imagine that everyone had fun while doing this film, and it's actually true.
Mm-hmm. When you say that, do you mean like the experience when you hear all these filmmakers, they say, oh, it was such a fantastic time, we worked so well together, but you actually, that really is a reality of doing something like this?
Yeah, and one thing that is fun of this kind of film is like when you have all this gore, all this blood and splatter, and there is always like you try to find with your crew a unique and creative way to make things happen, or like to make the scene or to make the kind of action, and because the focus of this film is like to entertain you. So when you're on set, we had like a moment where I was trying to figure out with my DP, with my first AD and the rest of the crew, how to make some kind of shots, how to make like everything more compelling for the audience, more entertaining, but at the same time, it's like, it allows you to experiment yourself, to like find other creative ways to make something.
Well, tell me a little bit more about that collaboration that happened on Piglet's return when you all came together. It sounds like you were in kind of a state of play, I guess, a state of you were all having fun, you were making something happen that you all had to come together to make happen. Tell me about what that looked like on the set.
Well, I can say from the production, because when I received the script from ITN Studios, the script was already something completely different that I ever watched, or like something different. And when we start all the process, from like when I started having a look at the location, started dealing with the actor, and even the actor who plays Piglet, Alex Butler, is a fantastic person. It was even fun with him to like discuss some of the scene, how to make some of the killings, what kind of weapons to use. We used lots of blood. There was like blood everywhere. And because it was like a shot on a tight schedule, we filmed this in 10 days.
Wow.
It was also like fun to work with the actors who played the victims. They also had ideas or suggestions, or for example, one example that I can give you about Piglet is we did a death scene that was a few particular one. One was in the shower, and we had like a very tight space, so we tried to elaborate how to make like everything look, everything to be more compelling and everything look like more credible. We had like another death scene that was like inside a cave, and Piglet had to do, and I cannot reveal many details, had to do a sort of scalp to one of her victims. So it was like, you know, I had chat with my SFX team, with the prosthetic, how to apply everything. And even if it's fun, you have to be like very detailed oriented, so you cannot like miss any details. So it became like really a process of collaboration, and despite we were under pressure, we always find the time to have fun, to try to give like the best experience to everyone.
Do you think shooting this over a short period of time, these 10 days, do you think that had anything to do with the whole creative process of making the movie? Do you think that changed things in any way, rather than doing a big shoot for something like this?
Yes and no. I think like working on a tight schedule, it allows you to find new ways to be creative. And this is something that I usually see from directors that they've done like their first feature films and they were like low budget and they had like tight schedule. I watched, for example, talking about sci-fi, I watched some of the first Gareth Edwards films. Gareth Edwards today is the director of Star Wars, the creator, big million budget film, and they were like, you can see that they're like quite rough as films, but you can feel the soul. You can feel that behind that shot, behind that action, there is like something more elaborate. There's like the proper filmmaking, the craft.
So. Why is it important to show that? Why is it important to have that soul come through in something. So you're making a horror, something that's really dark. So why is it important to have a bit of heart in that darkness?
I thought a lot recently, especially because I did all these feature films, and they were like all different films. They were between horror and action, and I was trying to like define my style to this film. And one thing that I understood is that like filmmaking or storytelling or being a director is like finding your own language and communicate your language to the audience and let the audience understand you. So when we were doing Piglet, especially, I wanted to do something different because the first script I received, it had like a different style, it had like a different tone. And for me, that I grew up by watching some of those Tarantino's B movies like Grindhouse or Planet Terror. They gave me lots of inspiration, and I wanted to do something similar. Or even if you watch today those Friday the 13th, Freddy versus Jason, there's always something like fun and humoristic. So I tried to apply this into Piglet. And you can notice that from the first 5 minutes of the film, that there is like a slasher gore element, but also at the same time something humoristic. And even the color palette of the film, it reminds you the 90s or the 80s, and even the music.
See, there was something that was happening in horror in the 80s that was changing things. There was this moment where horror became its own thing. It became a different type of entertainment. Like you say, there was fun in there. If you go back to things like Halloween and Friday the 13th and Fright Night and all these different films that came out in the 80s, they were fun films for teenagers to watch, even though they had a really dark, serious thing happening, this murder, these slashers, this gore. The underneath tone was one of fun.
Exactly, and I think like we have lost this today. I used to be terrified by horror films, like I had like fear, and today like nothing scares me like about horror cinema, and I think that today we're like trying to reach always something. I think we have lost what was in the 80s and in the 90s, where like cinema was more artisanal, if we can say, was more craft. Even like if you watch like The Exorcist, all the special effects, all like how they created this kind of poltergeist inside the room. That was the experience that I like tried to recreate in Piglet, and I think like this works when you have like a great story. There is fun where you have like all the elements, but also when you have like a tight schedule or like limited resources, it helps you putting more. And yes, the 80s. I think like it was the best period for horror in general. So.
Yeah, I feel that as well. I feel something special was happening in the 80s. And in the 90s, it tried to hold on to some of those tropes. We started getting things like Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer. They kind of took back some of those fun elements. But then as we moved into the early 2000s, all horror became quite serious and a lot of CGI started happening, and like you say, the fear element started to disappear because the fun element was disappearing. It all became very serious, and I feel like became a lot of religious horrors. And there was just nothing out there that was kind of grabbing the attention.
Exactly, absolutely, and I think like is a metaphor with what is happening with cinema today. I think like in the 80s, in the 90s was like maybe the last decades. But I think like it's the same that is happening with cinema. They're like trying to, everything has to look realistic, but at the same time it's losing its soul a little bit. While in the 80s, in the 90s, it was like everything was more rough.
There was something fun in the theatre of it, in the make believe.
Yeah.
There was something. It added another level of fear that it wasn't real. It was almost, if you go back to the 80s films, I'm thinking about them now and thinking of them, they're almost like a pantomime in a way.
Yeah.
It could almost laugh at some of the stuff, but they were more scary than that CG stuff that had started to come out. That was you couldn't tell if it was fake because it was so real.
Absolutely, and because there are like two different kind of horror. One is the psychological one, but the other one is like when it comes to slasher and gore, it's like the fun element. So the fun, I think like today the fun element is missing from like many production where they're trying to achieve these like realistic tone and they like to scare the audience, but like we're missing the fun, and that's what I wanted to give with Piglet, like just the audience going to the cinema. Not maybe give like proper fear. Maybe they can be disgusted by some of the scene. Maybe they can be like, this is too exaggerated. There is even like it even makes me laugh on how exaggerated it is. And in some of the scenes we try to exaggerate as much as we can with the gore and with the violence. And this is like a sentence that I always take from an interview that Tarantino had when the interviewer asked him, why so much violence? Because it's just fun. And it's something that you wouldn't do in real life. And that's the point. We had like so many very brutal scene, and after wrapping the scene, we all had a laugh, like we all had fun, even like rethinking what we did.
I think with these movies and what Tarantino often gets at is that movies are escapism.
Exactly.
Movies aren't supposed to be real. They're not supposed to be exactly how life are. They're supposed to be something different. They're supposed to be entertainment.
Exactly.
And so what is your take on someone that says that there shouldn't be a place in society for horror like this? That it could be damaging for people to see this kind of entertainment?
I mean, I don't think that, I think like we all as person, we have different sides. And for example, me as a director, I love directing drama, very deep stories, but at the same time, I just love to have fun. And I think like every human being has different side. And these horror movies, slasher, violent, they have found a place in the in the film scenario. And I don't think they will affect the audience that much. I think like maybe today the audience or the society is more affected like by what they see in the news or what they see like around them, because sometimes reality is even worse than horror. I think like horror are a way to escape, to have fun, to experience something that you would never do in real life. Same thing, I remember when I was a kid, and I'm like very passionate gamer. So I used to play like games like Resident Evil, Silent Hill, and I remember that like I was 8, 9 years old, and there were all these articles that if you play in this kind of game, then you go out in the street and kill somebody. Something I never done in like 34 years. So
But never considered. Never consider doing them because it's entertainment, because it's creativity and imagination, and storytelling.
Exactly.
And I guess that's why we have classifications on things and why we have warnings on the entertainment. So we don't say that this is suitable for everyone. No. We say that this is suitable for adults only, for a reason, so you can make an informed decision that is this entertainment right for me.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if you're talking about new generation, like there are like today many ways with the parental control and like to check on what your like son or daughter are watching. And I think like for the target audience of this film, if we're talking about teenager or like 20, 30 years old, they are aware that this is just is not reality. Just having like 1 hour and a half of fun, of escape of your own problem, or like see something they will never do in real life, or something that is so horrible, so violent that it could never be real.
And I think those classifications are important to have, but also there's parental control over that as well. And for instance, my granddad, when I used to stay at my grandparents' house, I would stay up late at night with him and watch horror films when I was 8 years old. And I would watch films that are 18 plus when I was young. And whilst they did scare me, they also entertained me. They also informed me. And I also, looking back, feel like they opened up my creativity.
Exactly.
But I don't think it's for every 8-year-old to watch these horror films.
Oh, no.
There are some that are more susceptible to others, and some it may be damaging. So I believe there's an element of, like I say, parental or guardian responsibility to make a judgment on these things and say, how will this affect or inform
Absolutely.
the youth? And for me personally, I experienced so many films in my youth through that were classified as 15, 18 when I was younger, but have informed my creativity as I am now older, and opened up my imagination a lot more than just watching the things for child. Now maybe some people say that's wrong, and I shouldn't be promoting that. I'm not necessarily promoting that you should show a child horror stuff, but a parent or guardian should be able to make a judgment.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, to be honest, me and many of my friends at the time when we were like 8 years old, we grew up watching all these kind of films, and they were all available out there. I remember that there was like a shop close to my house. At the time we had VHS, and we rent. One of the film was actually some of those Freddy Krueger, Friday the 13th, and the reason why, and it was like our sort of American Pie. American Pie was another like brand of movie that wasn't like really for kids, but lots of kids of our age used to watch it, and we grew up with. But still, we have values, so we understood that that was just fun. And looking back, even when I speak with my friends or they ask me about Piglet or about Mouse, but like looking back, we like laugh about when we were like 8, 9 years old, and we used to watch this film. I don't even remember us getting scared. I just remember us like buying popcorn, buying chips, and watching those films
and
on a Saturday
being
night.
entertainment,
Yeah,
being
exactly.
entertained. But again, I'll just add on the end of that it's not for every child to watch these things, and we're not promoting it and saying every child should. We're just saying for us, for our experience, it didn't harm us; it informed us. So we have to kind of make a judgment. But this is also what brings me on to, we're in quite an interesting age of cinema at the moment where some intellectual properties are becoming available. Yeah. So, for instance, Piglet is part of Winnie the Pooh, a children's property that was owned by a company, owned by Disney, and they're now in public domain. And there's other public domain licenses that are going to come available over the next few years. We're kind of in an era for that, aren't we? And so I think Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey last year was one of the first horrors. Is this film Piglet connected to that film in any way?
It's not related to the Twisted Childhood universe, to the Blood and Honey universe. Piglet is his own standalone film.
Because the property is available for anyone to use.
Yes, absolutely.
So how does that work then? That you can use the property, you can do what you like with the characters, that they belong to everyone? Tell me a bit more about public domain.
Well, this is more. I think like you can do, but still there are like some boundaries and some legal aspects that are like important for everyone out there who want to do another Piglet or another Winnie the Pooh, another Mouseboat. There are like some legal aspects to consider. And me as a director, I initially received the scripts from ITN Studios, who is the distributor of the film, and when they hired me, of course, like I tend to change the script a lot. I tend to readapt the story. So I had like a discussion over like what was possible, what like is not possible, where like we are crossing the line or not. Also because for me it was something new. I directed an horror previously, which was Highland of the Doors 2, but it was like a completely different scenario. It wasn't like any public domain.
No one owned them characters, and that's often,
No, exactly.
for most films, they tend to be new intellectual property. Whereas with this particular thing, it did have a license attached to it that's now open. And that's happening. I also saw that you're directing Hook, which is part of the Peter Pan universe, which is separate, and that's another story from J.M. Berry that's coming out in public domain.
Yeah, I think like experiment with those characters, because you have a character that you have a character that has been created already, and everyone knows Piglet, Hook, Mouseboat. Everyone knows all these characters. Everyone can recognize that kind of mask, or like something that is like way so similar, because these characters have become iconic. But at the same time, it allows you to be more creative under certain aspects, because those characters they have an identity for the audience. You're like literally mutating their identity, and the horror is the only genre where you, or like one of the genre where you can do that and have fun with it. Hook was another interesting character because it's not like the Hook that everyone knows. It's completely different, and this was another fun experience that we had on set while filming it, because you have all these characters. We had Hook, we had Peter Pan, we had Wendy, but they all have like different dynamics, and they are set in our society. And one interesting characteristic of Hook is that whole characters, they're dealing with contemporary issues.
Okay.
And that's like very
So you've got a universe that you understand, that you've lived with. We've all lived with the characters that are starting to become available. Hook, Winnie the Pooh, Piglet. They're all characters that have been there in our life, but we can now use our own imagination to expand the universes, to allow them characters to grow and become something new.
Yes, and I think like part of the, I think it has been a very smart move, using this IP, because we are like so connected with those characters. We all grow up. They're like today part of ourselves, part of our childhood especially. And the fact to see like so kind and tender character, like that they have accompanied us when we were like just a child, to see them as like beasts, to see them so mutated, so different and violent, is quite of a shock.
Yes.
Initially.
Yeah, a lot of these characters are from childhood stories that we're taking them now into an adult realm.
Yeah.
We're taking them to places that they would have never have gone before, when they were owned and locked in by a company.
Exactly. And one thing that I want to add is that when we think about this movie, we think about the slasher and the gore and the fact that those characters have like become the horror version. But at the same time, it's a reflection of our reality and ourselves. And that's the thought that I had while I was directing Hook. And I saw that all these characters, they were dealing with like current dynamics. And this is a little bit the metaphor of us as human beings. Mm-hmm. When we are child, we tend to see this character, we tend to see the good in everyone. But when we are adult, we deal with something different. I had some character in Hook dealing with like drug addiction, with resentment, revenge. These are not usually thoughts that you have when you are a kid, but they may be when you are an adult. So it looks like those characters have grown with us, technically. And they have developed all those sort of issues or those sort of dynamics, addiction. It is the mirror of our society, technically.
And that's really what I find really interesting about this is that these characters they get owned by a company because it's the movie business. So when someone comes up with an idea, they want to sell it and make money from it. But I am under the belief that because there currently is a time limit on how long that they can own that character, and I am under the strong belief that needs to stay. I know that some of the big companies are trying to lock some of these characters down, trying to say that the character is their business identity, and therefore if you open up that character to everyone, they will lose their business. For instance, in 2034, I believe, I might be slightly off, Superman is going to become available in public domain. Now, Warner Brothers are already getting the lawyers together to say, well, our business will end if Superman belongs to everyone. However, can anyone really own an idea indefinitely? And where will that idea inevitably go if it was owned by one person?
I think that's the positive and negative things. So when you create something, and I always felt when I write or when I direct, when I'm making the movie, and I think this is every filmmaker or every creator out there can think. Mm-hmm. When you're making it and you're alone or when you're with your team, it's different. When you release what you've done with others, with your audience, it's not yours anymore. Mm-hmm. You shared with people. And even when you go and watch a movie, you have your own idea of the background of the character. You you tend to see yourself and connect with the character, so it becomes yours. Mm-hmm. And it's quite, I understand it's quite controversial, especially when it comes with some character. And you mentioned Superman. I think also Batman is one of those characters that is becoming...
They all kind of got created around the same time.
Exactly.
And then Marvel are probably already looking 20 years, because Marvel then started to come out 10, 20 years after that. So their characters are not too far in the future. And they're not just big business, they're billion-dollar businesses. Yeah. They're franchises. And so I can understand from the people sitting in the boardrooms that they don't want to release that to everyone. But I believe creativity and ideas don't necessarily, they can't belong to us. I believe that we channel the ideas, that we channel the creativity, and that it was never ours to belong with. If I sometimes hear someone say, oh, I don't want to tell anyone about my idea because it's my idea, and I'm worried someone else will do something with it. And every time I hear that, I end up seeing someone else do something that is exactly the same.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And I think when it comes to this scenario, I think it's just a readaptation of this character. And I also think like we need a new character, like we need because we connect with the character, we connect with the stories and with the character. We grow up, and this character they become part of our identity. And the new generation they need to have like new character. So what we are actually doing is just to readapt old character. It's like when we hear today that Hollywood is just making remake or reboot or sequel.
Yes.
We need new
We need
character.
new things, we need new ideas. And I guess the only way to move ideas forward is for it to become everybody's idea, is for it to belong to the creative network of everyone that's in the human race.
Absolutely, absolutely. And even if you see like this main character, every like there's always a readaptation of like, let's take for example Joker or like the last Joker and the last Batman. They are like completely different. I mean, at least the last Batman is more closer to the comic book than the other films were. But it's again a readaptation of the same character, but in a different like light. So I think yes, and it's just fun to play with it.
And you can even say some of these characters, we're talking about Superman a bit here, we can even look at Superman being, I know for instance, the way that Zack Snyder portrays Superman, he often references and uses imageries very much like that of Jesus Christ. And you're taking a character from the Bible that's been around for a couple of thousand years, and you're now churning it into something else and giving it a whole new name and identity, but using a lot of the same traits of these characters.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that out there at the moment, I'm pretty sure that out there is someone who is already working on a like Superman movie, maybe sort of horror, and is taking inspiration from Homelander at the same time, from Homelander of The Boys, and combining these two characters together. I believe it's not me, it's not me, but I believe there's someone out there who's doing that at the moment.
So maybe we're in a really special time at the moment where there have been these mainstream characters, and that we are able to help these characters that they're not real, but we're able to make them evolve and potentially become more real because they're fitting into the time, they're fitting into this moment.
No, absolutely, absolutely. I believe that, and I believe like that everything has a time, and I don't think like that making these movies, not just me, but everyone out there who's making this movie and who's using this IP, I don't think it's affecting the character. I think it's just a reinterpretation of the character, and it's just giving this character to a different target audience. So it's like making more available for more people. But yes, absolutely, we are like also in a time where we can experiment with old characters, but this also can help us create new characters. So,
And it can also help us go back to the original character as well. So, there might be an audience out there that haven't actually discovered Hook or Piglet before, that want to go back and find out where did these characters originate from.
and if we're looking at the real, not the Disney one, the real fairy tale, even if you look like a Pinocchio, like they are like horror stories that they used to tell in ancient times to teach.
Because Disney didn't
children.
create all of these characters. They didn't create Peter Pan.
Exactly.
They didn't create Winnie the Pooh. They bought them.
Exactly.
And they took ownership of them for a period of time. So it wasn't, they're just, what we're doing now is what they did
Exactly
back
what
then.
they did before. And I think like there is some sort of revolution there on using this character, and I think it's quite brave at the same time. It doesn't mean that you're like making films by using someone else's intellectual property, or even if it's available to everyone. I think it's just like there's like some sort of courage, of bravery, of using a character that everyone knows and transforming it And this is what like Disney did, because the previous character in those fairy tales, they were like very gore and horror story, brutal, and they took those characters and they made them like for kids. Everything was looking tender, everything was like cute and nice.
Because that worked for them as a business, and it worked for the original stories as well.
Exactly.
They did enhance, I believe, from my generation, it did enhance the original stories from Disney having ownership. But it's going into a new direction now, and like you say, this is a time where we can start reimagining and creating new characters.
Exactly.
We can start afresh now.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think like we all take inspiration from previous character, and even when create like a new character from scratch, we all take inspiration from something we've seen or we have watched, or like from characters from our childhood that were important for us. So yes, it's just like having this like big, large pot, and you're making like this soup. You're like slowly have all the ingredients, and you know, the more you stir, and everything come out, and it's like. I don't know why I'm making this example.
It is a beauty. Maybe that's the Italian in you. That's the going to the food, I
Exactly.
guess.
Maybe it's like the culinary reference, but I feel like it's almost the same process. You're like trying to put like different ingredients from vegetable, and you like put everything in this like pot, and when you stir, like the taste is different. So, you know, when you cook everything, the taste is different. It's the same is like with filmmaking and storytelling. You like take a character that everyone knew in a different way, and then you start imitating, and you take elements from other character or other film. There's like so much inspiration from Friday the 13th or Freddy Krueger in those characters, and like you combine those elements, and at the end you see that it actually works.
It actually comes together. So, what I want to know a bit from you, Andre, is I want to understand a bit about the inspiration that made you want to become a filmmaker. We've got a bit of a background of both of our love for film and for horror, but what drew you to being a director? I know that you were born in Italy and you've come over here to London you studied at Met Film School?
I studied at Met Film School. I actually graduated in business and management at Northampton University, but in the meantime I was studying at Met Film School, Raindance Film School, and a National Film and Television School. To me, I always wanted to be a director. I think like started there since the age of 6, and there are like few episodes that when I look back, like I think these are like the episodes that helped me understanding that that's what I wanted to be. And talking about character, Indiana Jones is one of the characters that made me say like, okay, I want to do this. That's why sometimes I wear like a sort of similar hat or cowboy hat. Western movies, I was extremely passionate about Western movies, and I think like the main memory that I have is I was like 7 years old, and I went watching Life is Beautiful with my father, and it was such a crazy film for me at the time. So, and such a deep and very emotional story. And me looking as a child, I was like, how do these people, like, what kind of job do they do? How do they, you know, I love this, like, sense of, like, telling a story by using the audiovisual element. And, you know, I love to entertain the audience in every form and way, not just with the horror. When it comes to drama, I wanted to communicate. It's like communicating all your feelings, from fear to love. And this is such a unique form to communicate yourself to the audience or to to the others. And I'm actually writing a war movie at the moment, which is very similar to, or takes inspiration from Life is Beautiful. And I always felt like this is what I wanted to do. This is what I need to do.
So was it the storytelling in movie making that you wanted to do? You wanted to tell stories and capture emotions and capture feelings. Did you recognise that at 7, 8 years old?
Yes. I used to watch like lots of movies from, as we said, horror to, as I said, like Indiana Jones and some other movies. And more of the story, it was the story as well, and also the character. Because I think like we identify in characters, and it's not just an escapism, it's also find different way of solving our problems. One of the characters that I always like, that for me is always been important, is Jack Sparrow. I always like try, if you see the way he solve all his issues, or the way he deal with life, his mindset, try to look at the mindset of Jack Sparrow. It can be useful when you have a bad day. So absolutely. I think like characters help us, shapes our life. I think like character shapes our life, and there is like this beauty in telling stories, and this is something that we always did, like since humanity.
And I think these stories. This is taking me to when I was younger. I used to watch a lot of Star Trek, and Star Trek, whilst a sci-fi, whilst adventure stories, they actually gave me a moral compass in life.
Exactly, absolutely.
Yeah, they actually gave me a way to look at, whilst it was talking about far off distant planets, they gave me a way to look at this world that we live in, how to deal with the people that we're here with, whilst telling stories about little green men.
Exactly, and like, I mean, I forgot to mention Star Wars, that actually was my favorite. I wasn't really a huge fan of Star Trek, maybe I became more of a fan today. But exactly, if you look at, like, for example, sci-fi movies, they are very political, and they always have like a political message, and it's like it's a sort of, as you say, it's a sort of a moral compass about rights, about humanity, and yes, character and stories, they help us like deliver a message. So they help us communicate.
And I think Gene Roddenberry, who wrote Star Trek, that was his aim. That was actually what he wanted to do. He wanted to deliver a message of we can have a bright, positive future, and humanity can do good. Exactly. Humanity can do positive things. But it was never shoved down your throat. It was given to you via entertainment. And like, yeah, and it worked for me. I never sat there as a child going, oh, this is how I need to behave. But I watched those stories and was informed by them that I would take messages into later life.
Yeah, and is that like, these kind of stories, they've always been like a sort of protest against something. There are like many theories about Star Wars, of like how George Lucas had the inspiration from Star Wars, if it was referring to the war in Vietnam, if it was like a sort of metaphor, if actually the empire was US, or if it was like, there's like, you know,
the rebels are essentially terrorists in a way. They're fighting for a cause, they're fighting for their freedom, but they're the underdog. They're not they're not the over-controlling empire, the government. And it's something for us to consider, isn't it?
Exactly. And that's like, I think, also part of the beauty of it, because these stories are a form of protest against like what we call the power, or what we call the abuse. It's a sort of way to escape from reality, but at the same time, it's a sort of like give us strength to face reality, to face like abuse or domination, and to find new way to communicate to more people, or to reach more people, or to deliver the message to more people.
So what kind of message do you hope your films give or leave?
I think like today I have like a different range of films and
Because it's not just horror. You've got a puppy Christmas film coming out, haven't you?
yes.
So
yes.
it's not just horror.
And I had so much fun in that one. I was like, and if I can say, when I received that film, I was so happy because I grew up watching Garfield, Beethoven, and I love this kind of films. And I think like this is part of my personality. I love bloody, super ultra-violent stuff, but at the same time I love romantic. I also did a rom-com called The Dancing Queen. I love film for kids, just have fun. There's actually, while I was like in production with Pop Salon, I was watching this movie called Clifford, the Big Red Dog.
Yes.
It's a fun movie. I enjoy watching that. You don't always need deep and elaborate stories, because it's like you as a human being, you have like a different mood every day, and there are like different parts of your personality. It's like you can have like I don't know, you can have like a very pleasant meeting, or you can read like a deep book, or you can go to a museum and like have some culture, but at the same time you can have a night out. You can have a drink with a friend, you can have like something that is a little bit lighter, and this is still you. So I think like the fact with this film is that I want the audience to feel emotion, and that's what connects me to the people. It's like I want them to feel the emotion, whether it's like having a laugh, or you know, falling in love with a scene, with the music, or like just have fear or be disgusted by what they're watching. Disgusted by the blood, not by the film. But yes, I think like, and there are like all this story, I try to put this message that I love broken characters that they have like some sort of issues, that they like, that everything seems like that they cannot overcome those issues, but that at the end they just make it, and they make it because they are surrounded by the right people. Character that evolves, and I want like the audience. I would love if out there's like a 14 years old or a 12 years old. It depends on the age. I was like, I think I was like 13 when I went to watch Pirates of the Caribbean. I hope there's someone out there that today or later with the next films who's having a really bad day, or was like, I don't know, having like his heart broken, or like the day at school went so bad, and they just go to the theater and they watch the movie, and they like, and the character, they can help him during the day, like relieve the pain, or find another way to solve their issue.
Does that come from something in your experience wanting to do this?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I remember like when I watched, I mentioned so many times Pirates of the Caribbean, and it's like one of the characters that inspired me like writing a Western. I was like, I think like, I was 13, 14 when they released the one with Davy Jones, and I've never watched it. And I had like a very, very bad day. I think like I failed a test in maths, and at the same time, like I feel like, or I broke up, or I was rejected by the girl that I liked. And you know, for me, it was like
the end of the world.
Yeah,
everything. Yeah, we've all been there. I think that moment when you get dumped and that comes out of the blue.
Like it was the end of the world, and I still remember I was like crying, and then a friend of mine was like, "Oh, why don't we go to the movie theater? It's Saturday. Let's go watch this film." And then I watched like how Jack Sparrow was dealing with the issues, and I was like, I feel like a little bit more Jack Sparrow. And I think like, especially in today's generation, is super important because and I see this with my nephew, with the expansion of social media and like constant content, I think like there is more detachment between each other. I feel like we are more connected, but at the same time less connected. And we communicate way less. And I hope really that for the new generation, my character on my films, they can have them, even having just fun for 1.5 hours, even forgetting their like issues, life, problem, situation, or even like, why not finding a way? Like something that can
find an answer within the movie,
exactly,
within the entertainment. There is a way forward. There is a next step to your path. If that character could do it, maybe I could do it.
Exactly. Exactly. It's like it's a shifting in the mindset a little bit. So we all can make it, and I think like this is the main message that I want to raise. That you can always make it. You can always make it happen. So yes.
So how have you made it happen from film school? So you get lots of want-to-be directors come straight out of the film schools, and most of them disappear because lots of them start doing different things in life, or they work out the industry is actually very hard to get into. How did you break into the industry of movie making?
I think like there are like a few elements. Always reinvent yourself. Try to have like a skill that can be helpful to others. I started by directing commercial music videos, did a couple of short films. I did The Trackman, which was one of my first short films. It's not that things just happen like that. I had like many ups and downs. When I graduated, I started working in television. I was like at ITV first. I was working for Love Island. Then moved on another company by making documentaries. And I always like try. I'm a little bit bold when it comes to contacting people or like try to get jobs. Or when I have something that nothing happened, nothing, like always create, believe in yourself, always have faith, and never give up. That was like my mantra all the time, and still is, because it's always like an industry where like the competition is high, and you have to reinvent yourself all the time. And sometimes like I missed opportunity, and I also got opportunity. And when you miss something, it doesn't mean like there is the end of the world. Maybe it may even mean that something better is coming in. So if I think like if that's what you want, and there's like a sentence that I love from Spielberg. Yes, one of those videos that I watch. There is that like your dream doesn't shout at you; it whispers. So you need to listen to your dream. And the way, the moment I was listening my dream more and more were like the moment of like desperation, were the moment where I applied for this job and I got rejected, were the moment where I applied as a director for that film, and the producer told me, hey, you're not the right fit for this actual movie. But then they contacted me like 2-3 months after with another project that I liked even more. Or the moment where I was like, writing scripts and pitching ideas, and those ideas that like weren't going, or where I did have no money to make that short film, and I had to put the short film away. But then I wrote The Trackman, and all of a sudden we started attracting executive, associate producer, and have funding. So I think like you have to. There are like these moments in life. When you think like that everything is going wrong, when you think like, am I doing the right thing? Am I like, should I like as you said, should I like get like just a normal job and that's it? And these are like the moments where your dream is whispering at you, where it's like your dream is telling you that yes, you are in the right way. And one thing that I always do is that I always look back from 1 year. I always compare myself. I'm in massive competition with myself all the time. So now I'm in competition with myself from 2023, and I will be in competition with myself from 2025.
Why do you do that? Why do you compare yourself? Is there something in there? Because me personally, I always try to look at personal growth, and I visualize myself climbing up a mountain that I'm probably never going to get to the top of that mountain, but I am going somewhere. I'm going on a journey to reach some kind of height. And so I often look back and go, right, at least I'm higher up than where I was there. I didn't stay at that same level.
Yeah, it's like a sort of dissection. We tend to dissect our failure. We tend to dwell in like, oh, why I felt that, what did went wrong. But we don't do with our success. And I took this reference from Matthew McConaughey, which I found very inspiring. And the fact I'm trying to look back, first of all, at what went wrong the year before, but most important at what went right. So I look at myself last year when I did The Interpreter and I did my first feature film. At the end of the year, I will look at this year with 7 feature films and some more upcoming projects. And then I will look at what I want from 2025, where I want to be. And always try to make plan A, plan B, plan C, because life does never happen the way you want it. That's what we know. So absolutely, I think like if you set the goal, and if you set like the steps, how do you want to get there? Even if you don't get there the way you wanted, you will end up getting there in a different way. And that's something that I always believed. What like my biggest goal, what I want to do is, of course, to do like more big and elaborate film and even bigger budget, but because they give me more and more ways to create, and I want like people going to the movie theater and watch my films, and like share my message to more and more people, reach more and more people worldwide, and that's like the biggest goal. And I wrote like down all the steps on how to get there. And if I don't get there in the way I want, it means there is another way that I still haven't discovered.
That's quite interesting with that what you want thing, because I'm starting to realise on part of my journey that I don't necessarily get what I want, but I do get what I need.
That's almost the same thing. Like you get there in a different way.
In a different way. And maybe what I want is my imagination pulling things together, but what I need is actually more important and more valuable long term.
And you know, like at the end of the day, it's not you get what you want or you get what you need. I think like if you keep pursuing, it's not just being like I don't know, a big time director or like I don't know, big time producer or who's an actor becoming famous or like getting that TV show. One thing that I understood is that today at 34 years old, I understood that I'm so passionate and so in love with this industry, whether it comes from my background in film and television. I just love all the creative process, and I love the journey, and like all the people that are involved, and all the people that you meet along the road, and it's such a such a great feeling, even being part of this industry, that I'm already happy, whether it's like on film, whether it's like being back on television. I used to work as a production. It's like just being part of the process is like something so beautiful. So I think like we already have what we want and what we need, and sometimes we keep chasing things that we already own. So yes, even if we should like keep chasing and evolving and progressing, but sometimes it's okay to stop or pause for a minute and say, hey, I got this.
This is quite good right now. So tell me a little bit about right now then. Tell me what right now feels and looks like to you. How does it feel to be if you went back and you spoke to your 7 or 8-year-old self and said, by this time 34, I'm going to be a movie director. How do you think you'd feel back then compared to now?
Oh my gosh, that's such a great question. Great question. I think I will be like quite proud, and I feel like today I realized most of the things that I wanted. Some even in the way I expected, and that's quite particular. I feel quite happy. I feel like very positive about the future. I know there will be like some win and some losses. I don't know. These are like just part of the journey. I feel I'm like where I want to be, and I'm getting where I want to be next, which is like on getting into more deep stories. So I feel like today I'm quite happy, I'm quite satisfied. I'm also like trying to take my time. I mean, at the moment it's not super easy, but like trying to get my time to focus on other aspects of life. Because I think like when we mature, our creativity matures with us. And I see even in the way I write, or even in the way I think about characters, it evolves with me, and I evolve when I make experience, when I meet new people. So I feel like I'm where I want to be and in the right journey. And I feel like my 8 years old self who used to watch Life is Beautiful or Indiana Jones or Star Wars at the movie theater would be like quite proud, and he would tell me, keep going because we're gonna get there. So yes.
Wonderful. So as we wrap up this conversation, it's been great to speak to you.
It's been a real pleasure.
Yeah, I feel like we've bonded on the movies that we love, and I've discovered so much about you as a filmmaker. I really look forward to seeing where your career is going to go next. We've just talked about your 8-year-old self. Would you have any advice to any other 8-year-olds out there that want to be a film director, want to be a storyteller? What would you say to them to drive them forward to pursuing that as a life, as a career?
First of all, listen to everyone, but don't listen to anyone. We tend to get deviate in life from what we want, and I think like what Spielberg said about like the dream whispering is that because we are surrounded by so much noise around, that you need to pause and not listening to everyone, because your dream is whispering at you. And if you really want, just go and get there. Today is so easy to make a movie, and I feel like we are privileged. And the new generation, they will be even more, because I grew up in the 90s where just big studios could make a movie. Today you just need a digital camera. Soon maybe AI will be more of a tool for filmmaker. And I remember when I did my first short film, I was so ashamed to release this short film, and I released it, but then I deleted from YouTube. I did that with an iPhone. And of course today I film with old film professional camera. But just go and make a movie, just go and tell the story, and or make the story with your friends. Try to involve as many people as you can. don't be ashamed of who you are, what you want. Don't have any fear of judgment, because you may end up discovering that maybe people can appreciate what you do. They can have like a positive response. So I would say that try to explore as much as you can. And this is something that I saw with like few fellow filmmakers, like the filmmaker there, and I have like some director friends who are like today directing TV series and you know, working for like big networks, big studios. And these are like people I met or I hang out with, or sometimes we chat each other, and they all have something in common. And the thing that they have in common is that they keep experimenting, they keep losing, and they keep progressing. So I think like if I will meet a 8 years old who wants to be a filmmaker, it's just it's the simple one is go for it, fail soon, and don't give up.
And when that voice is whispering to you?
When the voice is whispering to you,
Listen.
try to listen, stop all the noise, and listen to the whisper. Listen what it's telling you and why you have that thing inside. Because we always have like a dream inside. I feel like we all have a purpose in life, and finding our purpose is the greatest thing that we can have. So, absolutely.
What a wonderful note to leave this on. Thank you so much,
Thank
Andre,
you.
for sharing.
Thank you for inviting me in this podcast. It's always a pleasure. And I'm pretty sure maybe next year we will have another
We'll
one
have a
where-
catch up and see where we are next on the
Exactly.
journey.
And it's, again, so beautiful to be in such a like beautiful location, and it gives so much inspiration and creativity, to be honest.
Wonderful. Well, and also, if anyone has been watching or listening, thank you for joining us for this conversation. We very much appreciate you.
Thank you.
And once again, very much appreciate you, Andre. Thank you.
Thank you. It's been a
Wonderful.
pleasure.
Lovely. Thank you.